everyone. Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for September 6, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a feel-good Friday edition. It is game day. If yesterday was New Year's, football is a little bit different. Today is like Christmas morning. The Eagles play a game that matters. I talked a lot in the spring about how the feelings and just what opening day for baseball symbolizes. Eagles' first game always hits completely different. It's literally like Christmas morning for me. I'm pumped. I don't even care that I am running my own Uber service for the kids this weekend, going to sports and parties and all things like that. It doesn't matter because the Eagles are back. We will have a lot more on the Eagles later in the show. Let's start off first with some housekeeping notes. Recapping yesterday's question of the day, I asked you, will Temple football ever be relevant again? 67% of you said no chance. I kind of agree with you. I wish it was the other way, but I think just the way the landscape is, that ship has sailed. And I don't know what's going on with the lighting here. It keeps fading in and out, so I apologize. But there was a lot of talk about when they left the MAC and took that big jump into the Big East, which then folded, became the AAC. Talk about the stadium. And truthfully, a lot more than what I expected. A lot of people said maybe they should just drop down to Division II. And if they drop down to Division II, I'm just not sure how relevant they will be. But thank you as always for participating in the question of the day. We will have another one later in the show. And if you're a loyal listener, you know what I'm going to ask you. But it is also game day. It is our second anniversary week special. We continue the celebration leading up to our second anniversary on Sunday. Remember, if you call and interact with the voice and text line 267-495-8531 and are a subscriber to the YouTube channel at Jimbo_Mont, you will automatically be entered in to win a free Philly Goat t-shirt. So just call or text the Back to the Future voice and text line at 267-495-8531. It's Eagles game day. Call during the game. All of that is fair game. Lots of opportunities for you to interact with the Back to the Future voice and text line. And then go over, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Jimbo_Mont, and you will be automatically entered for a Philly Goat t-shirt, all in honor of our second anniversary, which is Sunday. All right. And be sure to go to Philly Goat. They're doing a lot of great things over there. I mean, the t-shirts are awesome, but lots of charitable work. I mentioned the Hugh T. Douglas Memorial Fund. If you buy a Hugh Douglas shirt, that all of the 10% of the proceeds will go toward the Hugh T. Douglas Memorial Fund. They also do a lot of great work with the Darren Doughton Foundation. And we mentioned all summer the Battle Brothers, which is near and dear to John Kruk's heart. So go over there. Buy some shirts, support some charities, and be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences as well. There goes the lighting again. They're doing great things. New baseball podcast dropped today. I was on last week with them, had a lot of fun. And then the OGs are back. Check out the episode. I'm about halfway through. Got busy at work yesterday, so couldn't finish it. But plan on getting pumped up for the game, listening to the OGs at the NFC East Clashing Conferences. So that is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. All right, we will do the Eagles later. Go a little bit out of my original order. Let's start with the Phillies. And that was a very business-like, let's go down to Miami, take care of business, and that's exactly what they did. 5-2. Ranger went 5 scoreless innings, looked a lot better. Yes, it was a AAA team in Florida or Miami, but that's okay. This win was nothing spectacular, but it was exactly what they needed to do. I've seen them lose games like this in the past, so the fact they went down there, took care of business, scored enough runs, did not give up any runs, or didn't give up more runs, is exactly what they needed. Some news on that. Austin Hayes was placed on the 10-day disabled or IL with a kidney infection, so wish him well with that. Zach Wheeler's on the mound tonight, but will anybody be watching the Phillies tonight? My kids were asking me because I had the Phillies game on the TV and then I had the Ravens-Chiefs game on the laptop. I was like, kids, It'll all be switched tomorrow, and we'll likely be outside because it is a beautiful day. But Zach Wheeler is on the mound tonight, looking for the Phils to make it 6 in a row. And it's a good thing, too, because the Braves have been winning, the Mets have been winning. So they need to take advantage of this series here in Miami. But if the Phillies play a game in Miami and nobody watches, did they really have a game in Miami? Don't worry, I'll be watching on my laptop. But good news from a standings perspective. Braves and Mets. The Mets were off. Braves lost last night, so the lead in the NL East is 8 games. Milwaukee and the Dodgers were off, so they're up 3 games on Milwaukee. Currently tied with the Dodgers, which, because of the tiebreaker, technically the Phillies would get the number 1 seed. And again, I don't really care much about the 1 seed just because of you're going to catch a hot team at that point. But for the most part, the only team I'm that worried about playing is Arizona because for some reason they have the Phillies number. But we can start scoreboard watching, standing watches. And I know I said under, but because the magic number is at 15, we will start the magic number tracker from here on out. The magic number to win the division and coincidentally clinch a playoff spot right now is 15 for the Phillies, looking to whittle that away tonight in Florida with your ace, Zach Wheeler, who has been lights out on the mound tonight. Some Sixers news, and I'm not sure if you've been following this or not, but it's an interesting story. The whole stadium debate ever since that report came out. Since then, Delaware has thrown its hat in the ring to try to lure the Sixers. Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, is basically giving them, I don't know if he's giving, but probably at a discounted rate, land over in Camden to build the arena there. Doing that is an interesting choice and scenario for the Sixers because they would get all kinds of tax breaks from the state of New Jersey. Meanwhile, Mayor Parker has said the Sixers belong in the city, and it's one of the priorities of her administration to try to keep the Sixers in Philly. Personally, I don't see them leaving. I think having Delaware and New Jersey interested in taking the Sixers is exactly what the Sixers want. They're trying to build that downtown stadium on Market Street. So having other options obviously is going to help them in the negotiations with that. Personally, I don't see them leaving. And if they do, if they go to Delaware, that's a little bit of a hike. But I go down to Delaware, Wilmington, the waterfront, the Queen down there a lot. There's a lot of good restaurants. It's congested, though. It's definitely, I don't know where they would put it if they're putting it in Wilmington. Jersey, we go to concerts over there, so it won't impact me much. If you're going to see a Sixers game, you're going to go to see them, especially if you're in the suburbs. It will impact the people in the city, which is why I don't see them leaving Philly. But I just thought it was interesting. There's a lot of talk and speculation this week about the Sixers arena, but I figured I would mention here, but I don't see them leaving. And I've already said, I've gone on record, I'm a fan of putting it down there as long as they do it right. And I also think it's a massive opportunity. I know one of the big issues of the neighbors in the Chinatown community there is the loss of their cultural identity. The NBA is trying to grow over in Asia anyway, so it's a great opportunity to incorporate some of that Chinese culture and a lot of the history of Chinatown right there into the arena. So do the right thing, make it happen. But I figured I'd mention that. I don't see them going to Delaware, and truthfully, I think they want to keep them in there. So we'll see how this plays out now that City Council is back. All right, today we're going to go back to 1952. And in 1952, the Phillies were scheduled to play a doubleheader against the Boston Braves. In Game 1, they were down 6-2 in the bottom of the 8th, scored 4 runs to tie it up. The game remained tied 6-6 until Del Ennis led off the bottom of the 17th with a game-winning home run, and it was down at Shibe Park. And to be honest, baseball players were just different back then. So Robin Roberts was on the mound for Game 1 for the Phillies that day. He pitched all 17 innings, went all 17, gave up 18 hits, 5 strikeouts, only walked 3 in 17 innings. It was his 23rd win of the season, but yeah, a 17-inning complete game. But even more so, an example of how baseball players were just different back then. Del Ennis broke his wrist in the 6th inning chasing after a foul ball, which he hit the concrete down there at Shibe Park, and hit that game-winning home run with a broken wrist, which is absolutely ridiculous. They did start game 2. They halted it at 11:59 due to the city's curfew. Braves were leading 3-1 in the bottom of the 8th. And Del Ennis played that the entire 8 innings of game 2 with a broken wrist. He did not play the next day, obviously, but he did return later in the season because, again, they were just built differently back then. The Phillies dream scene, if you've ever seen this in the Hall of Fame Club at Citizens Bank Park, it's this painting with basically every major player, and it kind of celebrates every sort of era of Phillies history. Depicts Del Ennis with an ice pack talking to Mike Schmidt in honor of this game, hitting the game-winning home run with a broken wrist. But if you ever get a chance to go into the Hall of Fame Club, I wish they would put this in one of the other entrances so more people can see it, because it's literally when you get off the elevators in the Hall of Fame Club. It's a cool painting. You can actually buy it, so if you can, look up Phillies Dream Scene, and you can see all of the guys that, like Schmitty's there, McGraw, all the pitchers, Robin Roberts. They even have a little bit of because they didn't put Pete Rose in, but there is a vase with a rose coming out of it to represent Pete Rose, who helped them win the 1980 World Series. But the Phillies Dream Scene, cool painting that depicts this day in Philly sports history when Del Ennis won a game against the Braves, played most of the second game of a doubleheader with a broken wrist. Robin Roberts also, though, 17 innings. Like, guys barely go 6-7 innings today. And we got Robin Roberts going 17. But that happened on this day in 1952. Del Ennis beat the Braves in the bottom of the 17th with a home run with a broken wrist. All right, we will quickly go into our second anniversary celebration. We're going to take a look at Sixers 2 guards. And this list is some of the best in the NBA. You have Iverson, Doug Collins, and Hal Greer, who are all Hall of Famers. And then you have guys that should be in the Hall of Fame, but injuries cut their career short, with Andrew Toney. And Andrew Toney, by the way, the Boston Strangler, was a big player in our nickname tournament. Also, you got World B. Free, who was one of the main players, and Fred Mad Dog Carter. And then one of my favorites growing up, Hersey Hawkins, was one of the more underrated 2 guards in Sixers history. And then you have Aaron McKee, Temple University's own. I could actually have done the same question of the day about Temple basketball, but we'll get into that during college basketball season. But there is a list of the best 2 guards in Philadelphia 76ers history. It is our second anniversary. Be sure to interact with the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. And then subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, to make sure you are eligible to win a free Philly Goat t-shirt. Be sure to also follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. And like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Still can't believe Del Ennis hit a home run with a broken wrist and then played 8 innings in game 2 of the doubleheader. But what are you going to do? People are different back then. All right, so let's get into this game. And if you've been listening and are a loyal listener, you know I like to break down the game and then ultimately give my betting pick, which last year we didn't do so well at all, but that's okay. It's a new year. We're going to come back. So 8:15 tonight, Eagles are down in Brazil to take on the Packers. Currently, as of 6:45 this morning, the spread is 2. Eagles are giving 2 points, and the over-under is up to 49.5. get more into those picks in a minute. There's obviously a lot of questions going into the season. We spent most of the month of August talking about the questions. We did our 20 questions in 20 days. But I think a lot of it comes down in this game to Jalen Hurts versus the blitz. And there's been so much talk about him not being able to do it last year, working toward doing it this year. I think that is one of the big questions. Right guard is a big question mark. What is the Vic Fangio effect? Will they get a pass rush? And then ultimately, how motivated are they to be down in Brazil? You heard Slay say earlier in the week that he didn't want his family down. He kind of pulled back that statement, and he apologized for it. And I'm sure that is the NFL or the Eagles saying, dude, we're trying to make some money down here. You can't be saying that. I heard Nick Sirianni's press conference. One of the reporters from down in Brazil asked him about it. He kind of brushed it off and said, we're excited to be here. The people have been great. Basically everything that you should say as the head coach when you're in a country that your boss actually wants to grow and make money off of. And then, I mean, his role is one of the big questions too. Like, everybody's making a big deal about him being a CEO coach. Personally, I think, and I've said this 1,000 times, I think it's overblown. So many people or coaches in the NFL do that. And I think it gives him a better insight on what is going on with the team. I know everybody's saying, oh, he was stripped because he's this, that, and the other. So we'll see. All right. I'm fully expecting a slow start by this team this year. And I've said that. And we're going to get tested early and see really what this mindset makeup of this team really is going to be. If there is, I mean, if you look at the 2 Super Bowl runs, they got off to fast starts. And the outlier in that is last year they got off to a fast start, even though it wasn't a good-looking fast start. So I think the key to a deep run for them is a fast start, but I'm concerned that they're not going to get off to a good start. So we'll see. So I've narrowed it down. We got 3 keys to this game. I've already mentioned the first is how do they handle the blitz? The Packers are going to blitz them early and often, as well they should. And if they don't, that is piss poor coaching from the Packers. If they're not testing early and often Jalen Hurts, his ability to handle the blitz. Everyone is talking about how they've worked on it. We talked about Sirianni saying we're going to be tested. We're prepared for it. Tonight, it's time to show it. Let me see what you've worked on all offseason and how you're able to do it. I'm anxious to see what Kellen Moore has cooked up. I mean, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for right now, knowing what he has on the team, what the past deficiencies were. I think ultimately, if the Packers don't, the Eagles are going to score a ton of points. However, I cannot see them not blitzing him early and often. All you need to do is just beat it a couple times, and you're going to be fine. And I think they have plenty of weapons in order to do that. They're better at receiver, I think, than last year. They have a legitimate number 3 receiver now with some speed with Jahan Dotson. You got Saquon Barkley. I think Dallas Goedert's going to have a good year. So I think with Saquon Barkley, you have to run the ball early to keep the defense honest and then pick your poison. And I saw a stat, I forget where I saw it, that last year nobody threw downfield more than the Eagles. I think you got to work on those short passes. Use the speed that you have with Dotson and Devontae Smith. Use A.J. Brown's size to your advantage. Take advantage of Saquon out of the backfield, who has great catching ability. And I really trust that Kellen Moore is going to do that. Obviously, the pass rush, it came out yesterday that Isaiah Rodgers is not going to be playing. I don't think that hurts the secondary that much because everybody's high on Quinyon Mitchell. Yes, he's a rookie making his first start. Probably is a good thing he's making it in Brazil, though, rather than at home. But I trust Keely Ringo. You still have Slay out there. But ultimately, it comes down to the pass rush. If they're not getting pressure on the quarterback, I mean, I don't care how good you are as a quarterback, you're not going to be able to cover for that long. And you see it all the time. No pass rush, guys break off their roots and get open, and that's where you run into trouble. The Packers can be exploited at right guard, though. They're in a very similar situation to the Eagles where it's a question mark for them. I think it's up to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to take advantage of that and eat up some blockers to let the outside rushers get in and pressure Jordan Love. Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, they're question marks, but they're going to have to take advantage of it. And hopefully, if Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are doing their job eating up the blockers, it's going to allow them to make the plays as well. I'm looking forward to seeing how much time Trotter gets, but we'll see. And then the third key to the game is playing a clean game. Last year's opener was super, super sloppy. And I think that was like just indicative of the entire season. I think that the way the last season played out, like if you go back and like I was reading articles and watching clips from that opener up in New England, they played that way in the first game. So it really shouldn't be a surprise. They made enough plays because of their talent to get to 10-1 last year, but they started off the season playing crappy and they just never recovered from that. And to me, that's Nick's job. And now that he has nothing more to focus on but making sure that those little details were taken care of. They worked a lot on situational football in training camp. I think that's going to be a key to this game. No stupid penalties. Take care of the ball and just play clean. Like, don't take penalties on substitutions and things like that. So those are my keys to the game. Handling the blitz that the Packers should be throwing at them, getting a pass rush on Jordan Love, and just playing a clean game. And if there are any local car dealerships out there who want to sponsor this day in Philly sports history's key to the games, hit me up. I'm available. I would gladly take a sponsorship for that. But those, like I said, or there's a bank right down the street from me called the Key Bank. Key Bank, if you want to sponsor Keys to the Game, Key Bank Keys to the Game, it has a nice ring to it. Let me know. So it's time to make the pick. I basically just laid out to you what the Eagles need to do. Every fiber of my brain is saying the Packers are going to win this game. I'm fully expecting a slow start. I don't expect this team to go 4-0 or even 3-1. 2-2 would be a win in my book out of these first 4 games heading into the bye. Every fiber of my being is saying Packers win this game outright. However, you start thinking about it more, there's too much at stake for all of these guys on the Eagles. There's too much at stake for Jalen Hurts, too much at stake for Nick Sirianni. You have Kellen Moore, who's had time to game plan for this. You throw in Saquon Barkley, and I know it sometimes goes against what Kellen Moore likes to do, but I fully expect Saquon to get 15 carries, maybe 12, 15 carries today to help offset that blitz and allow Jalen to cook. I think for the young guys on defense, you got Jordan Davis, who is in a make or break. Am I going to be a bust type situation? Jalen Carter is poised to be a superstar. This could be his coming out party. It is a standalone game. You got Nakobe Dean getting the start, who's in the same boat as Jordan Davis, who has something to prove. Quinyon Mitchell, who's hungry. Slay, who is probably likely in his last season as an Eagle. Everybody just wants to get the bad taste out of their mouth. And again, nothing about this pick is going to make any logical sense because I'm going to tell you this pick, I'm saying doesn't make any sense to me. And I went back and forth on this. I just think there's too much talent, too much at stake for the Eagles in this game. They appear loose. They're treating this as a business trip, though. They're going down there to win a football game. And with everything to prove, the doubters, proving it to themselves, the fans, whatever it is this team is going to come out ready to play. I think there's too many smart people down there. There are too many people who have too much at stake for them to come out and basically crap the bed the way they did last year in New England. I do believe that Kellen Moore is going to rely heavily early in this game on Saquon Barkley and give Jalen time to cook in the second half. The defense steps up. Jalen Carter is going to have his coming out party tonight. Eagles -2 is the pick, even though nothing about that makes any logical sense. I have it down, and they got to handle the blitz, get a good pass rush, and play clean. Nothing says they've been able to do that. And maybe it's the PTSD in my brain from last year still coming through, but I just can't see them coming out flat. Not the way they finished last season, not the way that there is so much at stake for everyone on that team, because truthfully, half of the roster is playing for a job next year, starting with the head coach, the quarterback. I mean, there's ways to get out of that contract. So too much at stake. We're going Eagles -2. Maybe it's the Kool-Aid. Maybe it's the Christmas Day feeling clouding my judgment. I'm betting the Eagles -2. I think nobody is really picking this game to be more than a 4 or 5 point game either way. I think if you think the Eagles are going to win, take the Eagles -2. I am a little concerned that the line creeped up to 49.5. My lean there is over. I'm not making that official though, but I am taking the Eagles -2, even though it makes absolutely no sense for me to do it. I just think that you're going to see the key to this game is going to be Saquon Barkley. I mean, ultimately, obviously you need to stop Jordan Love and get a good pass rush, play clean, all of that. But handling that blitz and using Saquon Barkley is what's going to make or break this game for the Eagles. We're going Eagles -2. That is my official pick. Let's start off 1-0 on the season and keep that rolling, build up the bankroll. But that is today's question of the day. What are your picks for the Eagles game? Call or text the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. And then go over, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you will automatically be entered for that Philly Goat shirt. But what are your thoughts on this game? Again, I'm making this pick. I don't have any logical reason because they haven't shown me that they can handle the blitz. They haven't shown me that they can put pressure on the quarterback, and they certainly did not play clean really at all last year. A lot of dumb penalties, turning the ball over, but I think those are the three things they worked the entire offseason on. And like I said, Jalen Carter has a coming out party tonight. We see Nakobe Dean have a good game, and I'm really, really excited to see Quinyon Mitchell. But Eagles -2 is our official pick. Be sure to call me, text me on the Back to the Future voice and text line to tell me how much of an idiot I am and how much I'm drinking the Kelly Green Kool-Aid. But that's okay. Like I said, nothing in my brain tells me that the Eagles are going to win this game, which usually, trusting my instincts here, means my brain is wrong. But I laid out the plan. Key Bank, any local car dealerships, Bergies, you want to give me a call, sponsor the keys to the game, I'm open. But that is really how our Eagles picks and our game days are going to go. I'll give you the keys to the game, break it down, and then give you my pick. And hopefully we win some money on these bets. But Eagles -2, leaning toward the over. I think this is like a 28 or a 31-28 sort of game. Like it's not going way over, but I think we go over 50 points in this game. So that's a lean, not official. The official bet, Eagles -2. All right, looking forward to this game tonight. It's Christmas Day. Be sure to call or text the Back to the Future voice and text line with your thoughts on this game. This day, 1952, Phillies split a doubleheader with the Braves, but Game 1 went 17 innings. Del Ennis hit the game-winning home run in the bottom of the 17th with a broken wrist. Phil's Marlins tonight. Zach Wheeler should dominate them, but it's all about the Eagles. It's like Christmas Day. I told you we had a big show, but those are the keys to the game. Let me know what you think the keys to the game are, and then we'll get into a recap and break down what we saw tonight tomorrow on the podcast. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for September 6, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday. And until next time, go Birds.